children, this video is on economics for class 9, and today we are going to take a new topic from chapter 2, that's the law of demand. This topic is 2.2.2 given on page number 40, and the topic is individual supply and market supply. In the few previous classes we discussed about individual demand and market demand. Today we are going to discuss about individual supply and market supply. Now it's given on page number 40. Let me first go through the book and then I'll keep my points to you. Individual supply refers to the quantity of a commodity which a farm is willing to produce and offer for sale at different prices for a specific during a specific period. That is called individual supply. So what is individual supply? You have already read about individual demand. Demand is created by consumers. Supply is created by suppliers or the producers. Now what is individual supply? Individual supply refers to that quantity of a commodity which one producer is ready to produce and offer for sale at a given price and time. That is individual supply. Similarly, market supply is the sum total of all the individual supplies, or market supply is the supply by all the producers of a commodity at a given point of time and price. Okay, so that is the concept of individual supply and market supply. If I am a supplier, if I'm a producer, if I'm producing something, and if I produce in a particular day a certain quantity and sell it, offer for sale, then that is my individual supply. But if I have got 10 suppliers, if there are 10 people producing the same commodity, then on a given at a given time or period of time, if our supplies are all added up, and whatever we get, that will be termed as market supply at a given price and point of time. These two things must be mentioned clearly. Okay, so that is a simple difference and the definition of the individual supply and the market supply. Now we are going to learn about the determinants of supply. Dear children, you had learned about the determinants of demand. Now we are going to learn about the determinants of supply in this class. The first determinant of supply is price of the commodity. You know, you are a supplier. You are a producer. You are making the commodity and offering for sale. When will you sell more and when will you sell less? When the price is high, then if you sell at that moment, you will earn big. But if the price is less, and if you sell at that moment, that you will earn less. So that means higher the price, more will be the supply, and lesser the price, lesser will be the supply. Number 2, goals of the producer. Producers produce with two different goals. One is profit maximization and next is the welfare maximization. Profit maximization and welfare maximization. Profit and welfare. If you are producing in order to earn more and more profit, then your supply has to be higher. Because higher you produce, higher you sell, higher earning you will have. But if your goal is welfare, that means you want to do good to the other people, then your supply, in that case you are not earning much, so your supply has to be less or only in limited quantity, so supply will be less. Next is price of the factors of production. Price of the factors of production. If you are producing one commodity, you will require so many products. If the total cost of those products is 10 rupees and you are selling it for 15 rupees, okay, you are getting a profit of 5 rupees on one unit. So your supply will be high. But if the price of the factors of production increases to 12 rupees, your selling price is same, so profit is less. In this case, you will try to reduce your supply. But if this decreases to 8 rupees, if the cost of production decreases to 8 rupees, then again your supply will be more. Why? Because your profit will be 7 rupees. Higher the profit, more will be the supply, and lesser the profit, less will be the supply. So it also depends upon the price of the factors of production. Factors of production are those commodities which are required in order to produce a commodity. If they become cheaper, your selling price will remain same. You will earn more, and hence the supply will increase. But if the price of the factors of production increases, that means the manufacturing cost has become expensive, selling price will remain same, profit will decrease. In that case, you will have to decrease your supply, or you will be compelled to decrease your supply. So this is regarding the price of the factors of production. Next is price of related commodities. Say related commodities, say for an example tea and coffee. Okay, if the price of, you are producing tea, but if it's, you are producing tea, okay, if the price of coffee increases too high, if the price of coffee increases, then what will the people do? People will stop consuming, consumers will stop consuming coffee, and they will start consuming tea. In that case, the demand is high, so you have a chance to increase its price, or you have a chance to increase its supply, because price of coffee has increased. People will buy less of coffee and they will buy more of tea, so demand for tea will rise, hence the supply of tea also will have to rise, and your supply will increase. Okay, similarly, if the price of coffee decreases, more consumers will start buying coffee, so the demand for tea will decrease, hence the lesser supply for tea will take place. State of technology. If you are using advanced technology, production will be higher in short time, and the cost of production will also be cheaper, profit will be more, your supply will also increase. But if the technology is outdated, then production is slow, expensive, profit is also less, hence the supply also will be less. Okay, next is structure of the industry. Structure means market structure. Market structure means, are you alone selling the commodity, or there are a lot of producers selling that commodity? If you are alone, then you have a chance to either stop the supply, reduce the supply, or increase the supply. It is not going to, you have a full power to do this, because there is no other supplier to supply. No, if you don't supply, there is no other supplier to supply. So you can create artificial scarcity, increase the price, and you can supply. Okay, so structure of the industry. If it is only one supplier, then in order to increase the price, he may reduce the supply, because when the supply is reduced, artificial scarcity is created, and hence demand rises, and when he supplies even at an increased price, he can easily sell. So by creating artificial scarcity, price can be increased and more profit can be earned, if depending upon the structure of the market. If it is a one producer market, but if there are a lot of producers producing the same commodity, and if the commodity is homogeneous, then they cannot do this, because if one producer do not supply potato, there are so many other producers who will supply potato. Okay, so you have no power, you have no advantage, you have no control over the supply of such commodity where there are large number of producers producing homogeneous product. Okay, we move on to natural factor. Natural factor like rainfall. If you have enough rainfall in this season, production of potato paddy will be high, production of paddy will be high, no, supply will be more. If there is no good rainfall, then there will be no good crop produced, hence the supply also will be less. So natural factor, if the weather is not good, supply will be less. If there is a very good weather favoring production, production will be high, supply also will be high. Because if the production is high, farmer will find it difficult to store, so better get rid of them by selling it. So production will be high, higher production, supply will be more. Taxes and subsidies. Taxes are given by producer and consumer to the government. Subsidies are given by government back to the producer and consumer. Okay, try to get my point. Taxes are amount given by consumer and the producer to the government. Subsidies, just opposite, is an amount returned back by the government to the producer or the consumers. Now, if the taxes are higher, Commodities become expensive, demand will be less, supply also will be less, profit will be less. Okay, but if the taxes are less, commodities will be cheaper, profit will be more to the producer, hence they will supply more. This is about taxes. Now about subsidies. If the government returns, subsidies are something returned back by the government. If subsidy is given to the producers, that means producers are producing and subsidy is coming back from the government. Okay, subsidy is just like LPG when you refill, government will return back in your bank account. That is also subsidy. Now when the subsidy is being offered to the producer, that is a profit to the producer. Hence they will be encouraged to produce more and more. So production will be higher. If subsidy is offered, production will be higher. If taxes are imposed, production will be less because the commodity becomes expensive. Okay. Next is price expectation. If the producers, since this is a supply, we talk about from producers' point of view. If the producers are expecting price increase in future, then what will they do with the present supply? They will think, let the price increase, only then we'll supply because we will earn more profit, no? So presently the supply will fall. But if they are expecting that the commodity that which they are producing, its price is going to fall in future, then they will presently get rid of everything they have in order to avoid the loss in future. So presently the supply will increase. Alright? Now next is agreement among producers. All those producers who are producing a homogeneous product, if they have an agreement and together they reduce the supply and happen to create artificial scarcity in the market and then increase the price, then all will benefit. Producer will benefit. Not all, producer will benefit. So if there is an agreement, then they can influence the supply of a commodity. But if they have no agreement, if only one producer withdraws his supply, then other producer will keep on their supplies. So supply cannot be affected. Okay, but unanimously, if an agreement, then they can affect the supply of a commodity, and they can do this in order to earn more profit. By creating artificial scarcity, they can increase the price and they can again supply. So agreement. If they have agreement, they can alter the supply at will. But if they have no agreement, then the supply cannot be altered. And the last one is availability of transport and communication facility. If there is a very good transport and communication facility, supplier can supply more and more. I am producing here, if I need to take it to the market, and if there is a good transportation facility, easily I can supply, no? But if there is no good transport and communication facility, then supply will be less. Okay, it's a very simple. So dear children, we today learned about the individual and market supply, and we also learned about the determinants of demand. This is very, very important. Hope you understood this. A simple reading is required. The explanation is given in the book in simple words. You will definitely understand it. So I wind up my class for today. If you have difficulties, please do ring me up, and so please take care of yourself. Goodbye.